Dear church, let's talk about the preacher and social media. Dear church, let's talk Holy Spirit, transformation, prayer. 6 days, right? And if you love me, you will keep my commandments. Our culture wants to define you by your sexuality. We know that our identity is found in Christ. Hello, welcome to the Dear Church podcast. I'm your host, Chris McCurley. First-time guest on today, Lee Snow is joining us. Lee, thanks for being with us, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So tell us, before we jump into our conversation today, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world.
Yeah, just a lot. Full-time preacher, social media, all that stuff. So I wear a lot of hats, literally, as you can see.
Yeah.
So
looks a lot like my closet. Yeah.
Yeah, just running and gunning pretty much. That's about it.
How about the church there? How's that work going?
It's going great, man. We put in elders, January of 24, and then deacons in April. And so took a while to get, settled and kind of get the flow of things. And we're still kind of working out some different who does what and that sort of thing. But it's going really, really well. We're a church of about 75 to 80. And we've had over 150 visitors this year and baptized 7, I believe. 7 folks.
That's great.
And, so it's just kind of bursting at the seams at the moment. So,
yeah. So did y'all not have elders before?
No. So I'm at the Warm Springs Road Church of Christ in Columbus, Georgia. The last time, I guess it was like the early 90s, the last time the church had elders. And so, late 90s, I guess, maybe early 2000s. So it was right at about 20 to 23 years between having elders and establishing the new eldership that we have now. So,
yeah, that's great. So things are going well at church. How about at home? I know you have one child. Is still at 1? Are you holding there? Or?
No. We have 3. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you've multiplied since I've talked. Yeah.
Yeah. We have an 8-year-old. He turns 9 in a few, like a little under a month. And then we have a 5-year-old and then 11-month-old. So her birthday is 2 days before her big brother's birthday. So
wow. Yeah.
Yep.
So things are hectic in your life right now.
It's a lot, but we're managing as best we can,
A good hectic. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Lee, I have you on today because if our viewers or listeners don't know, you're very active on social media. And we've had preachers come on before talking about social media and talking about how to utilize it in the best possible way. But I wanted to have you on because you take a different approach, and one that I like. And I want to.
It's different.
Yeah, it is different, but one that I think is, I would even say, needed, and that is that you approach things from a humorous vantage point. You also are very active on maybe platforms that we don't always see preachers being active on, although we're seeing more of that now. But like, TikTok, for instance, you do a lot of work there. And then, kind of the big thing right now is Reels, and you do a lot of Reels that you can see on Facebook. So I would tell people, if you are interested, follow Lee on the social media platforms, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. And very humorous, very much putting yourself out there, I guess would be the way to put it, right? I love how you do that.
Yeah, I regularly tell people I apologize for anything you see online, but yeah, I'm a goofball and I crack jokes all the time. And so I try really hard to make my social media a very real picture of who I am too, so I don't just talk church, don't just talk family. I work a lot in the firearms industry, so I talk a lot about that. And I make jokes, though. I try to make people laugh along the way. So in whatever kind of genre I'm talking about or niche I'm talking about.
Yes, and that's what I appreciate is that, I feel like that we're really serious a lot, especially, in churches of Christ, we're very serious, and that's okay. We need to be serious about the gospel. We need to be serious about these things. But at the same time, I think it's good that people see that we can let our hair down and, within reason, of course, have some
Right.
fun and enjoy life, because as Christians, we should be the most joyful people on the planet, right? And you know, your stuff is fun, and it's a different take on things that I like to see, especially from a preacher standpoint, because I feel like I'm pretty goofy around the office. I like to have fun, and to see that displayed, I don't know, I think it's refreshing. Talk a little bit about kind of your strategy or your approach, or is it just what you said? You just want to be you just want people to see a day in your life, or there's obviously some planning and some
Yeah.
editing and some things put into this. Kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, in addition to full time ministry, I also run social media for companies and small businesses and nonprofits and things like that. So, um, I my I say, like, my brain thinks in algorithm. Um, so the I try to my general rule is I try to make my social media just like me, but also I can't help but strategize and plan and process as if it were a thing. Because also, once you get to a certain level, it becomes kind of a business, right? So,
Mhm.
um, so I think about it in terms of a business, but I'm just trying to be myself at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think through and process different ideas, and you can't see it, but we have a recliner over there in our studio. Um, and so on a regular basis, my office mates, my studio mates will come in, and I'm laying down in the recliner, and they say, "Oh, Lee's working," and I'm just scrolling TikTok. But I'm just trying to kind of do research on different trends and things like that for clients, but also for my personal stuff. I try to stay up to date on the business, the industry norms and that sort of thing, and then implement those on my personal social accounts as well.
Isn't that interesting where we've come from where we were? I mean, you think about
Yeah,
the
yeah,
1950s and what would have, and here we are. We're not handing out tracts and things of that nature. We're trying to be a presence on social media, and there are so many
yeah,
good Christian folks out there that are doing good things on social media. And I just like the window that you're letting us look through
yeah.
is kind of the day in the life of Lee Snow and a day in the life of a preacher. And, you posted a picture the other day that I thought was humorous. And, you said the caption was "Truck naps are the best," and you had
Oh
your
yeah.
foot hanging out the window, and you were reclined in your Ford pickup and taking a
I was
nap.
in the
And
parking lot of the church building.
yeah, yeah,
I take a nap
and
every day, no
yeah,
matter where I am. If I'm at my studio, or if I'm at the church building, or if I'm just in my truck, at some point during the day, I'm gonna take like a 15-20 minute nap. So it just kind of works out to wherever I am.
yeah, I cannot deny that maybe I have taken a nap on my couch in my office a few times too,
I
because
have a couch
man,
in
when
my
you're,
office at the church for
y-
that reason.
yeah, I mean, you're blowing and going. I mean, take a 15-minute power nap and I'm good to go. But I wonder what has been the reaction from, first of all, your own congregation. Are they on social media? Do they see these videos? What has been the reaction, positive or negative?
I don't think any of them follow me. I think they get tired of me just in life, So, um, but no, it's been a fairly good reaction. We've had conversations and sadly arguments about social media and stuff in the past, and but it's fairly good, and part of it is, I make goofy content, and I try to I make the church jokes I make are the jokes that, like, we would say in the church foyer, right?
Mhm.
So my general rule is, if I wouldn't make that joke in the church foyer, I'm not going to make it. But also, my personality, I make jokes about everything. So
Mhm.
sometimes my line in the sand is a little different than somebody else's line in the sand. So we've had those conversations, but for the most part, everybody, at least as far as I hear, right,
Yeah,
doesn't mind it. I don't know, it's kind of like they put up with me,
yeah.
but they put up with me in every aspect of life, anyways. Um, but the thing is, like, not to knock door knocking or personal evangelism. I think those things are downplayed in our society, and especially in the church, to where people think like that stuff just doesn't work, and it does. It genuinely does. But we have anywhere from. I'm also a very analytical person. I look at analytics a lot. So anywhere from 20 to 40% of our visitors um, find me on social media, and then they realize that they're 15, 20, 30 minutes away, and they drive and come to worship. So
Yeah,
um, it is a it doesn't seem like it would be an outreach thing, but it really is. And even past that, on a daily basis, I have people commenting, "Oh, I wish I could find a preacher like you." Usually they say like, "I wish I could find a pastor like you," and then I have to tell them, "Not a pastor, I'm just a preacher." um,
yeah,
and then that strikes up a conversation, right?
yeah,
But then I find out where they are, and I get with, there are a couple guys in the church today that are like the FBI. If you need a church in a certain area, you just text them,
yeah.
and within five
Uh-huh.
minutes, you have a phone number for the preacher that's 10 minutes away from them.
Right.
So I do that a lot. I'll have somebody in Oklahoma or Washington State or Ohio or you know that wants to find a church, and I tell them like, I don't know a lot about this church, but this is I know it's faithful. Here's a faithful church that you might could look into. um and so it's it's outreach in the local sense, but also when you get to an account that has the kind of following that I've been able to get, which is only by the grace of God. Like there's no reason why a preacher in Columbus, Georgia, should have the kind of following that I do. But once you get to that level, you get people from all over the world that are interacting and looking for churches, and so I'm able to put them together with congregations all over the place too. So
Yeah, that's really neat. I mean, those are kind of unintended consequences, right? I mean, you
right,
can't really account for those things, but I mean, sure, you'll take it. I'm like you on Instagram. I only use Instagram for humor because, like you, I feel like there's so much seriousness out there. It seems that social media has become a bathroom wall in a lot of cases, especially like on X, used to be Twitter. I mean, there's just
yeah, it's
the
wild over
whole
there.
yeah, the whole dialogue there is you're an idiot. No, you're an idiot. I mean, that's all it is.
Well,
And on
everybody's an
social,
idiot, so now close the
yeah,
app and go find something fun to do. Uh,
exactly. And there's just so much of that. And so I think I want to be a light. And I've said this before. And Ripple of Light kind of has this as their mantra: is that Jesus went to the marketplace because that was where the most people were gathered, and
right,
the internet is where most people are gathered now. That's the
right.
modern day marketplace. And so if you want to engage the most people, you go to the internet, and especially Facebook has 1 billion people on it. You've got all these other platforms that have multitudes of people. And so I think, you being a presence there, I don't think you have to be, but I think or a preacher being a presence there can really, be a light in a dark place and really, reap
Yeah.
some benefits. So I know that you're verified on Facebook. I'm not real sure about the other places. Are you are you monetizing this now with all the content that you're creating? Is this bringing you an income?
So the verified thing is tricky. I'm verified on Instagram, but because I pay for it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, so monetization is interesting. It is specific to each platform, right? So
hmm
TikTok's monetization is for minutes that are, or sorry, videos that are over 1 minute long. None of my stuff is 1 minute long. Used
Mhm.
to, they had a different program for monetization on TikTok, and so I was monetized. But then I'm still monetized. I just don't make videos that qualify for monetization on Facebook, on TikTok.
Yeah,
Um, Instagram and Facebook, I monetize as well. Um, and working on the YouTube side of things, YouTube is hard. I'm
very
not good
hard.
at long form stuff. Like
Yep,
I run and gun and make 15 videos a day sometimes, and it's hard to make like long form stuff, at least for me, in
it is.
my kind
Yeah,
of niche, you know what I mean? uh,
yeah,
but yeah, so monetization can definitely be super helpful, just from an income perspective, if you do it right and
yeah.
um, meet all the qualifications and guidelines and so forth for it. So yes, I am monetized. I don't make a lot of money from my personal social media. Um,
Yeah.
I will eventually get in there, and there's some new programs rolling out for Meta, that will, this is insider baseball, but there's some new programs for Meta that are coming online in the next few months that will drastically change um, how they count monetization, and so that'll help a
Hmm.
lot. Um,
Yeah.
but it's I had a lunch, with a friend of mine who is a massive content creator.
Hmm.
Like, I think he's at like 1 million on YouTube, 7 million on TikTok, probably 600,000 or 700,000 on Facebook, and I think he's at like 800K on Instagram.
Hmm.
And I was talking about that, like how should I monetize my content? And so he gave me some pointers and stuff that I'm going to be trying to implement. But he said, I'm changing agencies, and I was like, oh, why? And he said, well, I have a friend who's at this other agency and he's making 2.3. And I was like, 2 2.3 million? He was like, yeah, a year, 2.3 million a year. And I was like,
Wow.
teach me your ways, Jedi
Ye-
Master.
Yes.
That would be,
Yeah.
we're getting a new church building, y'all. But um, so there are people making crazy money on monetization.
Yeah.
I am not, but
Yeah.
maybe in the future, if everything works out and God still allows me to do this goofy jokes on the internet, you know, we'll maybe we'll see that
Yeah.
come to fruition soon. But
Yeah, you said that earlier about my line may be different than somebody else's, and that's one of the videos
yeah,
that I thought about. But I mean, it's just uh, vulnerable, open, honest. I think
yeah.
that's what I appreciate about it is, you're just putting yourself out there. And I like the folks, the comedians like Nate Bargatze who can laugh at themselves. And, that's kind of where you're at is you can make fun.
Oh yeah. Regularly, I get done with a video and I just laugh at myself. My wife will be, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I can't believe I made that video. Like, it's just funny to me. But yeah, my
Yeah.
tagline is I make jokes and shoot things to the glory of God. So there's my
Yeah.
line, and some people don't like that, but
Yeah.
they can build a bridge and
Yeah.
get over it. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I saw
Um,
you recently. You were giving a presentation somewhere. I don't know where the venue was, but you talked about how you will die on the hill of humor and being
yeah.
lighthearted and fun in ministry. Not all the time, but as a part of
No. Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
do in ministry. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. There's a time to be serious. When I'm in the pulpit, I'm serious. Now I'm still gonna crack some jokes every now and then and try to keep people engaged, but that's communication tactics, right? That
Hmm.
not trying to pull the wool over people's eyes or use sleight of hand tricks kind of thing, but um there's times to be serious, and then I strongly believe that one of the reasons why so many people have been turned off to religion in our culture is because of the false piety that is portrayed by some. not by
Yeah.
everybody, but by a very vocal minority, and that's what people see, and that's what people kind of judge us by. Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, what I was saying in that is, I will die on the hill on the fact that people need to see Christians have genuine lives, and we have fun, and we goof off, and we have friendships, and we're not willing, or we are willing to laugh at ourselves when we're being kind of ridiculous, right? So I want people to see that it's okay to laugh, it's okay to have fun, but you also, there are times to be serious. I don't do a lot of teaching on my social media. Um, we kind of use the church's accounts for that.
Mhm.
Um, but my goal is to make people laugh, give them some sort of insight into the fun that Christians have in life, right? And then hopefully I can intrigue them enough to teach them later.
I asked this earlier. I didn't. I didn't dig too deep, but um, are the reactions mostly positive and then some negative, or mostly negative and some positive,
No,
or
they're
is
mostly
it a
positive.
mostly positive?
They're
Yeah.
mostly most of the time. Like I said, I'm convinced that most of our church doesn't follow me, just simply because they get tired of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly positive. Every now and then. Now on in the comment section is completely different.
Yeah.
But in real life, people aren't offended. But in Facebook and TikTok comment sections, they get really offended over the most ridiculous stuff. I've got this thing where I will, anytime I'm recording a video in the church building, I will take at least one of my shoes off. And
Hmm.
so I'm wearing like barefoot or a sock on one, or I'll purposefully wear mismatching socks that day so that when I'm recording videos, I have two different socks on.
Hmm.
You would be astounded at how many people are deeply offended that I would be in a church building without my shoes on.
Really?
And I tell people all the time, like, the women at church wear flats and they're
Yeah.
wearing sandals. Why?
That.
I just
Yeah.
don't
That.
have a piece of leather between my feet and the ground. It's okay.
That's.
Moses was told to take his shoes off. So there's my biblical, I have authority to take. No, I'm just playing.
No, it
Um,
does seem interesting though that that would be what they key in on.
Oh, that's definitely what people key in on all the time.
Yeah.
I had an elder of ours a couple months ago called me, and he was like, "That video was hilarious. Now put your shoes on." And I was like, "Are you for real?" And he was like, "No, I'm just kidding. Do do it." um, but
So they like to have fun
people
as
get
well. So
offended
that's good.
over the weirdest stuff, and it's just in the comment section. If you see those people in real life, they may be offended by something ridiculous, but they're not gonna say it out loud. But because of the semi level of anonymity,
Yeah.
they feel like they can, get bent over me not having one shoe on or something.
But that's
Um,
really social media, right? I mean, it seems like
yeah,
everybody's offended on social media.
that's it's not just social media. That's just the world we live in, you know.
True.
Um, a few months ago, I was walking into a store, and I made a TikTok about this. I was walking into a store and I opened the door for a lady, and she got super offended that I would open the door for
Really.
her. And so I made a TikTok about it and used a sound and kind of made it into a lighthearted thing. But
Yeah.
people just get offended over everything, but they do so more on social media. But I think overall, the general reaction is that it's working. People are
Yeah.
learning the gospel.
Hmm.
Um, And outside of that, I don't think that every aspect of a preacher's life needs to be just so that people can learn the gospel. Like sometimes I want to
Hmm.
go fishing just to go fishing, right?
Amen.
Um, we need to. I think too many preachers, their lives are the pulpit, and then we
Hmm.
wonder why they get burnt out, right?
Yeah. Good point.
Um, but yeah, overall, it's pretty accepting, and lots of people laugh about it and stuff like that.
Lee, this is not a social media related incident, but many years ago, I was a young youth minister in Batesville, Arkansas, and we had a gymnasium there on our campus. It wasn't connected to our building, but it was right behind it. And so,
Good thing it wasn't connected, man. I was about to be offended.
yeah,
No, I'm just playing.
we call it a TNAG. This is not a gym.
Oh,
But
yeah.
anyway,
As long as you don't call it gym, you're good.
yeah, as long as you don't call it a gym. So it was actually a health club. They had a gym associated with the church because they had a school there, a Christian school,
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah,
then
yeah.
they sold it. They sold it to a health club to pay off debt, and then they bought it back later. So anyway, we're playing basketball
It's a
over there
great
every
idea.
Sunday, and yeah, we're playing basketball over there every Sunday. And there's a gentleman, Calvin, who would come and he would play with us and everything, but he wasn't a member at our church or anything. And after some time, he ended up wanting to learn more about Christianity and all that. And he was baptized, still a faithful member today. But he talked about how what really made an impact on him is he saw that, this isn't just about rules, that you can have fun.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and that these guys enjoyed being together and they had fun and they were regular people. And I guess that's what I'm getting at with what
Yeah.
you're doing and what others are doing is it just shows you're a regular person. And I
Yeah.
think
Like
that's
well, sorry to interrupt, but back in, I guess it was early 2021, um, with the status of the church and culture in 2020 and 2021, like the world was falling apart. We couldn't have church. We like literally everybody was offended about something. And I'm scared we're going to get back to that given the current events. But
yeah.
um, everybody was offended about everything. And I think churches went too far in trying to be the bridge between
Mm-hmm.
the offended culture and the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
they, in a lot of cases, they slacked on the truth to try to not offend people. And
Mm-hmm.
my general opinion of it, I have a famous or a favorite quote from a theologian. His name's Tim Hawkins. He's not a theologian at all. He's a stand-up comedian. Um, but somebody asked him one time, "What do you say about the people that get offended by your jokes?" And my sense of humor and his are very similar. He's, of course, a much better comedian than I am, but um, he said the people that are offended need to be offended so they can learn how to not be offended.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, 2020 and 2021, the world was falling apart, and I was walking through this was when Walmart was still 24 hours, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which was weird. It was during the COVID, but anyways, they were still 24 hours. And I was walking through Walmart at like 11 o'clock at night because I would try to go when other people weren't there, so I didn't catch
Yeah.
the plague or
Good plan.
whatever. And I'm standing in the vitamin aisle in the pharmacy at Walmart, and I hear, "Oh, are you that funny preacher guy?" And I turned around and I was like, usually if there's someone around me, I'll go, "No, that's that guy." And then they'll kind of look and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about." And then they
Yeah.
figure it out. I'm just joking around. But I said, "Yeah, how's it going?" We struck up a conversation. He said, I'm a member of the church, but our congregation has gone way too far in all this.
Yeah.
And we've just stopped because they're of course they're not having worship, but past that, like it seems like every sermon is about politics. It seems like every thought process is about, how can we, it's all politics now. And he was like, I've just kind of given up. And I was like, well, I get that. I see that too. And I don't really know how to fix it. And
Yeah.
he said, "Oh yeah, man, it's great meeting you." I was like, "If you ever want to try again, come to Warm Springs Road." And so he started coming, and his wife started coming, and his three kids, and his mother-in-law, and his father-in-law, and now his father-in-law is one of our elders. Um,
Wow.
Simple and like they're some of my best friends. I know preachers aren't allowed to have best friends in the church, but they are.
Yeah.
And all because like I was just trying to be myself, and
Yeah.
the church was wanting to stick with the truth more than trying to placate to culture.
Yeah.
Um and I think there's something for all of us to learn in that, even outside of the 2020, 2021 world. I think there's an application there that every church needs to think about, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, before we let you go, Lee, if somebody is thinking about, you know, starting a social media profile and putting out content, maybe it's not the same content as you or I put out, but just, they're thinking about putting out content, whether it's, strictly sharing the gospel, things like that, maybe more humorous, whatever it is. I know you do this kind of for a living as well. What
Yeah.
what advice would you give them?
If you're a preacher, is that what you're asking? If you're a preacher and you
Yeah,
want to
yeah, if
start?
you're a
Okay.
preacher, yeah, or
Um,
someone who wants to create Christian content kind of thing.
um, Realize that there are 31,102 verses in the Bible, and not every single one talks about baptism. I think one of the most detrimental things to the gospel is that literally every video I see from members of the church is just about baptism, which is
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is valid. Like, of
Mhm.
course, I understand the concept, and people always tell me, if I make a video on baptism, you're blaspheming the act of God. No, I believe baptism is more important than you do 9 times out of 10. I believe it's more there's more to it than what most people believe, right? Because
Great.
we believe that it is the moment when someone submits
Hmm.
themselves to God. And
Hmm.
but if you're gonna make content that is, if you want to make teaching content, teach the Bible, and baptism will be a part of that, of course, right? If a preacher were to
Yeah.
stand up on Sunday and preach every single sermon about baptism, he wouldn't last very long.
Hmm.
Um, and nobody would listen to him. Same thing
And
on
you're
social
missing a whole
media.
lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want, you should not go into any kind of social media wanting to get a following, period, because it won't
Mm.
work. Like,
Hmm.
you're going to second guess yourself all the time. So what I would say is, if you do want to get a following, but that's not your main goal, post a lot, be active in a community on social media, especially TikTok. Like, you need to find your community. Um, and just be yourself, right?
Yeah.
Even if it is a teaching account, like you're actively trying to teach people biblical principles, or going through the text and doing Bible studies and that sort of thing, still be yourself. Don't turn into a different person when the camera turns on.
Good idea. Yeah.
And then just keep
Be
going, man,
be
because it's
genuine.
a grind. It
Hmm.
really is. If you want it to become monetized and all that stuff, you got to think of it as a business. And so you
Yeah.
need to learn it like you would a business, right? So
Yeah.
take classes, watch YouTube videos, learn about algorithms and how they work, and different platforms and the culture of different platforms, and et cetera, and really put time and effort into it. And if you're an elder and your preacher's wanting to do this, support him in that. Like, our elders support me in what I do tremendously.
Yeah.
Um, Support him in it. Give him the time and the bandwidth and the margin to really put some effort into it, right?
Yeah. Really good advice. I've heard over and over again, be consistent, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
what you're saying is be consistent with
Yeah.
it.
You don't want a preacher
Hey,
that's going to be a different person when he gets into the pulpit. Well, same concept,
be
you know?
genuine, right?
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
be yourself.
Man, Lee, thank you so much. That's really good stuff. I appreciate you taking time to be with us on this Feeble podcast and just kind of give us some insight into what you do and who you are, and
No
really
problem, man.
appreciate you, brother. And I want to tell our visitors, and if you have a specific question about today's episode, you can email me at chris.mccurley@rippleoflight.com. If you have a question for Lee, we'll make sure to forward that on to him. I'm sure he'd be willing to answer any question that you might have. Lee, thanks again, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
And thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. Sincerely, Chris.